Right before Christmas. I was like,
All right, we're live. So it's 5:30, so I'll call the December 22nd meeting of the Historic District Commission to order. I'm Corey Parks, our chair.
Josh Hamilton, Vice Chair.
Jenny Davis, Secretary.
Nathaniel Johnson, Commissioner.
Thank you all so much. I'll start first by entertaining a motion for the approval of the minutes if there's no edits to those.
I so move.
Second.
This motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. That passes. And remind me, 6:15 is on the agenda this up. Okay. We'll now go to our first and only public hearing item for the night. Okay. Well, disregard what I said. We'll go to our first public hearing item of the night, 615 Faulkner Street.
Thank you.
Tara.
The 615 Faulkner Street is in the Old Conway Overlay Transition District. It is in an area that consists of a mix of single-family homes and traditional four-square craftsmen, and then 2 churches. So the applicant is proposing to demolish an existing multi-unit structure. The residence appears to be a 4-square style with neoclassical additions. Now, the Old Conway does not have any specific regulations pertaining to demolition. And in most cases, if somebody wants to demolish a structure in the Old Conway district, they do not need to go before the Historic District Commission. The unique aspect of this project is that there is a conditional use permit on the property, and that permit specifically called out that they would need to go before HDC before they demolished the structure. So because of that, we don't actually have any regulations pertaining to demolition in Old Conway. We do have them for the Robinson Historic District, and those are, some of those standards are embedded in the HDC standard document. And they basically outline what if the HDC initially determines that this is an inappropriate demolition, then the HDC may defer the matter until such time as it has had the opportunity to consider alternatives, which include funding and adaptive use changes, an attempt to find a purchaser, feasibility of moving the structure, and any other solution. So that is if the HDC determines this to be an inappropriate demolition. What the applicant has stated is that they would like to demolish this structure due to the high cost of repair. The foundation has suffered considerable damage over time. The applicant provided a report outlining the foundation issues, as well as a report from a geotechnical engineer. Some of that report was summarized and is embedded in this report. And essentially, the applicant attests that the residence has been architecturally degraded due to substandard renovations and remodels over time, as well as having this foundation that has just deteriorated and not been maintained. So some conditions for consideration are that the applicant must obtain all applicable building permits and/or demolition permits. And this approval does not constitute an approval for a new build. Any new build will need to come before the Historic District Commission and be reviewed at that time.
Thank you, Tara. Is the applicant here? If you could join us at the podium, please, and just state your name and address for us.
Good evening. My name is Steve Norris. I live at 2018 Caldwell. I'm also the senior minister at the Robinson Center Church that owns this property.
Any questions related to the condition or any other context you'd like to add for the commission's approval or consideration, I should say?
Just that, excuse me, when we bought the property mainly because it was right up against our building, and we were always interested in buying anything that is just right there. Feel like you have to consider those things. And as we move forward, that's been several years ago, there were renters in it at first. We kind of let that play out. We knew better than to try to force that hand. So once the renters kind of all bowed out and we were empty to go in there and assess it, we did that. and realized at that point just the serious, just degradation of the interior. It was just terrible. It was terrible. There had been all kinds of new walls put up. We took all the sheetrock off over a period of time just so that we could kind of keep it as good a shape as it could be kept until we could really truly assess it. We earnestly started doing that back several months ago. We had Remkus, which is a commercial inspection company, come and do their inspection. We had a geotechnical study done as far as soil is concerned. And what we found then, that obviously we couldn't have known before, is that basically the house has no foundation. The foundation blocks are literally laid on top of a layer of bricks that were simply laid on the ground. So the perimeter has no foundation at all. And so it's not a matter of, well, can you repair the foundation, because there simply is no foundation. And on the interior of the house, the piers are sinking, as you can see from the pictures, many of them slanted sideways and everything else, because they were also just put on the ground. And so our assessment is that the house is basically sinking into the ground. And I got enough costs just to say that, just to be able to put a reasonable actual number on it. And as the report there that I offered suggests, that the cost of just putting a foundation underneath it is right at, or probably actually a little bit more than $200,000. The house was actually obviously a large structure, but at the same time, obviously not built to stand the test of time, because it was literally just simply built on top of the ground. And therein lies the problem that obviously we couldn't have seen, because, well, with the geotechnical study, while we were doing that, we actually dug out a section of it just to confirm all of that. And we dug it out, obviously something we couldn't have done in a basic inspection. But so that's kind of where we are on it. As you stated, we're in an area where we otherwise could have demolished it. The house that sat directly behind that one, we demolished it when we were getting ready for the building of our new auditorium there. And I might add that the church has been on that property since 1905. So it's, because we've occasionally had even some folks in the neighborhood say, well, we don't want churches in the neighborhood. We want to get the churches out of the neighborhood. And I'm like, I think we've probably been here longer than you have in that sense, because that very church has been on that property since 1905. But anyway, we were able to demolish that house because there were no restrictions. And as you say, the restriction on this one was the tag put on the conditional use permit, which is why I'm here before you. Any questions of me?
Questions from you all?
I'm good.
I do have one quick follow-up on kind of future plans for assuming that the structure is able to be demolished. Any idea in your magic ball on what that would look like?
We don't have a specific plan at this point. I mean, what we would, if we were able to demolish it, what we would immediately do is go in there and bring the level of the grade up to where it would be where it needs to be, because underneath the house is actually about 6 inches lower than all of the area around the house. So the house has set with water underneath it quite a bit of the time. But we would just go in and basically try to, clean up the spot, get it as presentable as we could for the immediate time being. We don't have a particular immediate plan on what we've built. I did note there that on the report, on part of the report that I was given, those first 2 summary pages, that we are definitely, we've tried to be a good neighbor. When we built the building we're in now, we built some sitting areas and things around the edge just for that. We made sure the parking lots didn't have where we would be facing lights too bad. So we were trying to do what we could. And I would just say that if, considering the neighborhood that we're in, we're fine for whatever we do put there at whatever point we do, for the front facade to look as much like a vintage home as we could make it, just to make it fit as best we could.
So thank you so much for that, answering that question. So Terry, a question for you. On the demolition plan, because I'm not as familiar with that as this is the first one, I think, since I've been on the commission, that we've considered. So what is the, I guess, planning department's requirements on the state of that lot once the structure has been demolished? Is there any guidance on that?
There's no timeline in which they need to rebuild.
Yeah, well, I was just trying to understand like what because I'm the other church that's on Faulkner Street, that the structure I think caught on fire a number of years ago, and then it was demolished, and it's I think there's plans at some point to build back a structure there, but I know that it's been used as kind of a programmable space for that church, and so I was just curious kind of what requirements may or may not exist for vacant property that would be triggered by a demoed structure. Does that make sense at all?
I think I'm following. Once it's demolished, so the applicant will need to get the appropriate demolition permits, right,
Yeah.
from the permit department, and then it can be vacant for
Yeah.
as long as they need it to be, and then when they do want to rebuild, they'll have to come to HDC. We'll have to relook at the conditional use permit. It's just tied to religious activities, and so we would just need to kind of revisit our conditional use permit guidelines. But
I'm just thinking, so imagine, I think about like UCA, for instance. Historically, whenever they may not have an immediate plan, but have a near plan for something, they may temporarily place gravel to use it as a temporary parking location. Once a structure has been demolished, it's no longer of use to the campus. So I was just curious on what, especially with it having a conditional use, what abilities they would have to repurpose this in the near term. So like, could it be parking? Does it have to have, I mean, obviously they plan to grade it, but with the grading plan, does that have to have turf? Like, what does that look like?
yeah, so they wouldn't be able to just put gravel down.
Yeah.
It would have to go through all the processes. That would be the principal use of it.
Yeah.
So it would have to conform to the use
Okay.
guidelines, and then it would need the parking wouldn't need HDC. So anything that isn't the structure would not necessarily need HDC, but it would still have to go to the planning department to be in conformance with our design standards and
Yeah.
landscaping. So
Okay.
it couldn't be used kind of as a holdover. It can be a
Yeah.
vacant lot, but I know that there is some parking right now with for the buses, which is on the conditional use permit. So that would be able to stay for.
Okay. I just wanted to, and that was more for maybe the folks that are watching that may not be in attendance, but also the commission. So if and when this is brought before us again for 5 years from now, 10 years from now, there's an understanding that even though you may not have an idea now, that we've had some of those questions asked and talked through that a little bit.
Could offer one more thing.
Absolutely.
One of the things that prompts us to go ahead at this point and petition for this is partly because we just kind of went down that road and just kept following that road, inspections and the like. But in the meantime, once the structure didn't have the 4 apartments and the 4 renters, we have had a little bit of a struggle with a couple of people staying in there a night or two, a few nights actually. And so that kind of leads us down this road too, of realizing just the difficulties and the frustrations of it being still a standing home in that sense, yet unoccupied and unused. So that has kind of prompted us a little bit on timeline here as well. That's why I say we don't have a particular plan to do anything on the site at this point, but that's kind of what led us on down the path.
That makes sense.
With some of those issues as well.
Very good. Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else here to speak in favor of this? Okay, if you could just come to the podium, please, and state your name and address for us. And any questions will need to be directed to the commission and not to the applicant. I know it'll be kind of weird, but you'll speak through us, and then
Okay, I just
we'll
felt
navigate that as we need to.
kind of rude.
Yeah.
My name is Lisa Hum. That's my husband, Pat. We live at 614 Faulkner, so we live directly across the street from the White House. We've been there almost 24 years. Our concerns were twofold. Well, I'll just narrow it to two. One of the concerns that we had was that little by little, our green space is being diminished by parking lots on both sides. And we were concerned about it turning into a parking lot. As it stands right now, between the lights from the Nazarene Church and the Church of Christ, the parking lot lights are such that, and this is kind of frustrating, and it sounds like not a big deal, but at night we have to use light blockout blinds because it looks like an airport. And the frustrating thing is that I understand the safety component when there are people there, but the issue being that obviously people go home and then we're looking like a 747 is landing there. I was a little concerned about putting more asphalt for a parking lot just because we're becoming surrounded by it. Secondly, what it was going to be used for, because to be quite honest, we have had situations where some of the homeless have been asleep on the benches there. I had a policeman come because I found a couple of crack pipes in my yard. I have 7 grandkids that spend a lot of time with me. We don't want to be a bad neighbor at all. I love the historic district. I'm sorry the house didn't work out. I believe it was built, I think, a year after our house. I think it was built in 1915. I'm not sure. It's a beautiful home, and unfortunately, it's old, like ours. My concern was that about a parking lot going up with additional lighting, and then like what were we going to be looking at from our front door? And again, I don't mean to be a bad neighbor, but that is, we've been there 24 years, and that is our primary residence. We are both retired now, so we're there all the time. And I just wanted to know what was going on. So
I think Tara's going to offer some more context, maybe. Or if not, I have a question.
So a parking lot as a use just on that side would not be allowed in order for, and I don't know if the applicant intends to use it as a parking lot. So I'm just looking at the use table right now, and I know that it couldn't be used just as a parking lot on that lot alone. If there was ever a potential, if they ever merged it, then it would be accessory to the church, and in which case it would need to go through the site development review that is just within the planning department, and they would have to have, the lighting would have to meet a certain amount of it's not supposed to shine beyond the bounds of the property.
So
Yeah.
Tara, I know that would be outside of our peer review, but if in the event that so say they replatted it and that becomes part of the existing structures lot, so to speak, would there still be an expectation similar to what we've had in other instances where screening of some type would have to be added to protect? Okay, I assume so, but wanted to. So can you speak to that a lot more intelligently than what I will on what those requirements look like?
It's adding trees to make sure that every parking spot is within 60 feet of a tree. It's having the hedgerow so that there's no light trespass from the cars themselves towards the street.
that's a great idea when there's leaves on the trees.
Yes.
The problem is when the leaves fall off. That's why we've never said, it was just, we haven't ever said anything about it. We just wait for spring to come back, but it is a little, I mean, like I said, but between this corner and this corner, it's well lit, very well lit. But I just didn't want to have it on both sides and in the front too. I don't want to live in the middle of an airport, put it that way. So,
Do you mind spelling your last name for me, please?
HUM.
Thank you.
Tara, is it appropriate for us, and I have a question, but somewhat of a comment maybe too. Is there the ability for us to add the condition that in the event that they would develop this, that they would engage the neighbors, or would that be part of kind of the standard? I'm trying to figure out the scenarios where it would require notice and the ones where it wouldn't. And I'm thinking of, it's kind of conflicting.
Right. So we couldn't add a condition that says, that they would need to engage the neighbors, but a condition could be added that should it be redeveloped for parking, that would need to be reviewed by the Historic District Commission, because that wouldn't necessarily need to go before Historic District.
Yeah.
Just kind of like this conditional use permit was put on the property, and normally you wouldn't see the demo permit, right? But you could do that to kind of make it so that if there needed to be a higher metric of landscaping, maybe in the form of evergreens, as opposed to what our standards have, that would be available, or buffers, if that's something that, given the context of the historic district, I think that is appropriate.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Any questions for her?
Just a comment. I mean, I'm someone I own a house next to the Baptist church, and I am also, and they're a great neighbor, but I also am familiar with looking across the street and seeing a parking lot. And there is some concern. I do have some concerns about the green space being taken up. I understand the need for parking, and I know but if you're a downtown church, I feel like that's going to happen if you're an urban church. Like, parking is going to always be a concern. But when you have mixed use, you also have to take into account the residents. So I would definitely, I'm glad you asked that question. I would definitely be for adding a condition that if it's parking, we would need to increase the threshold for the residents of downtown. Even though I agree that the downtown churches are excellent neighbors.
They are.
Yeah,
They
they
are.
are.
They are. I have absolutely no issue. It's
Being there 24/7 is different.
it is
than-
that that's the major thing,
agree.
that's our 24/7 home. And I honestly think once we start, we love downtown. Like I said, we've been there 24 years. And once it gets to where it doesn't feel like a neighborhood per se,
That's a danger. I agree.
then I think that's when you start having problems. And I would like to, when the time comes for us to sell the home, I would like to sell it to a family that would take care of it and, continue that.
And I think that benefits the churches too, to have, be within a neighborhood. I think that's, to keep it a neighborhood, keeps it family friendly for the churches as well.
I think we're pretty low key.
So I would say thank you for your comment, and appreciate your stewardship as a downtown resident. And I would say that if there's anyone else to speak for or against or ask questions, if they could join us at the podium as well. Thank you, ma'am.
I could respond to that just a little bit. That's good with you?
Just a reminder to speak through the commission and not to
Yes,
the
absolutely,
individual person.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Steve Norris again. The two gentlemen with me are Brian Smith and Mark Ashley. And they both have a lot of experience along these lines. Mark replatted what lots we have replatted. He's done all that work for us. But we were just talking, and of all the things that we have talked about possibly doing there, parking lot has never even been in the discussion. I mean, it has never even been in the discussion because we would not want to make a parking lot up to the street on that lot. And as far as I'm concerned, and I hope these two guys would back me up on this, you could put a stipulation on that, that rather than gravel, that be re-landscaped with sod and that it would be a green space for the foreseeable future would be absolutely fine with us. We would have no plans of making it gravel so that we could start parking. Our only thought, and I'll say this, that of the couple of things that we thought about we might someday build there, what we would probably do is put in, put a front facade that looked as much like a home as possible, put a driveway that went around to the back and came back out with no parking in the front area of it anyway. But I'll just say that we've had no plans at all of making it into a parking lot. I mean, you guys are much more aware than we would be. But a few years ago, I don't know if it was just the city in general or if it was HDC along with other folks, but they stopped basically making it a requirement that you have all of your own parking spaces. And it took a lot of pressure off of churches, particularly in our case, to the south and to the, actually to the east of us, to the north of the Hums residents. That parking lot gets used by the county all week long. And then on Sundays and Wednesdays, we use the county lot across Robinson from us. I mean, not that we wouldn't like more parking, but we're not pressed for parking particularly and have no particular plans of making that a parking lot. I would also say if Mr. and Ms. Hum would let me know, and maybe rather than let me know, we'll just make a plan to go and kind of stand in front of their house over the next few days, see which lights seem to be pointed in that direction, and we'll do what we can to fix that. One of our deacons back a few months ago decided that they would redo some of the lighting, and it did get a lot brighter. And it may be that those just aren't turned as best they could be, but we'll do what we can to remedy that as well, just out of good faith. All right, thank you.
Thank you for addressing several of those concerns. And again, I'll echo the same sentiment as I shared with Ms. Hum, and the fact that I would just say we appreciate your kindness and stewardness as trying to be a good neighbor in downtown. So Tara, what I would ask of you, based on the comments that we've had and the questions that we've had from the commission, would it be possible for you to, and you may already be doing this, but to write a condition that is in line and isn't too much of a burden on the applicant in the future, but also protects the integrity of the neighborhood and addresses some of the concerns that we've had tonight? Is that what you're doing probably? So
I've done that a little bit.
Okay.
And then, so some potential conditions that I've thought of through this discussion is so potentially number 3, any reuse of the site, including but not limited to a parking lot, will require review by the Historic District Commission. And then another one, or site must be revegetated with sod or a similar material to ensure the use of the site as a green space until a proposal for redevelopment is brought before the Historic District Commission.
So the site must be revegetated as used for. Restate that last part.
Yes, so I'm just gonna, I'll start from the beginning.
from the top.
Site must be revegetated with sod or a similar material to ensure the use of the site as a green space until a proposal for redevelopment is brought before the Historic District Commission.
What would be considered, would turf, like artificial turf, be considered a similar Because I know that in a city that I was in recently, that became a point of contention in the historic district.
I would think that the vegetated
Okay.
would
Okay.
nix the use of the artificial turf.
Okay, I assume so. So one thing to point out for the commission, and I don't know, is there a way to show that on the screen?
Becca, could you go to, like, I don't know if one of the site photos in the staff report.
Yeah, I don't know that it doesn't show as visibly.
Can you go to street view of the residence? 615 Faulkner, that shows the carport.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's one photo, but I don't think you could zoom in enough to see it. Yeah,
Go walk north.
yeah, north, sorry.
Yes,
Yep.
please. A little more.
And then turn to the,
And then.
yep.
Yep.
So. Yeah. I'd go one click to the north again. Don't you love navigating with other people giving you instructions? And then if you can pan to the south and then zoom in as much as it'll let you. So one thing that we need to think about is once that structure is no longer there, that carport will be more visible. And so we may want to discuss what it would look like to make that less of an obstruction for the neighborhood.
Option. I don't know that we do.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking some type of green something that's outside of my wheelhouse of expertise, but I mean, maybe it could be as simple as conferring with the planning staff to, based on what the recommended species or acceptable species are. I don't know. I could see a scenario where that becomes an unintended consequence down the road. Yeah. Yeah. Well, because I'm trying to think something that isn't, that could, 'cause you don't want to put trees, but then something maybe that could be, yeah, that could be replanted somewhat easily. Yeah.
I drove by there today. I thought about that.
For the sake of time, is it possible for us to give the planning staff the flexibility to work through a solution that addresses the eyesight or sightline of
Screening
that particular
of the-
structure? Okay. Okay.
Thinking about language real quick.
I know what that looks like. Sorry.
Uh,
This is why you're the expert.
So, because we could look at it for like shrubbery or a fence. Obviously, that's going to be taller than a standard fence, and we don't want just, a fortress, like
Yeah.
a random fortress, just sticking up. But I think a fence or shrubbery would definitely help mitigate. So I think the language that would be appropriate in this instance is that the applicant shall work with planning staff to mitigate the visual impact of the existing carport.
That, Jenny?
Yeah.
Perfect. Is that acceptable Is that acceptable for the applicant? Okay. But are the wheels turning, Ann? Okay. I don't know if that was hold or proceed. Do what? I don't know. So other questions or thoughts as we're waiting to see if Ann had feedback for this?
I like it. I
Okay.
think it's going to be really good for kind of all parties there. You know, because the whole thing I was thinking about the entire time we were talking about demolishing that was, you know, is that just going to turn into a dirt lot?
Yeah.
You know, in the middle of the
Yeah.
neighborhood. And I don't think anyone wants that. I don't think it
Mhm.
brings appeal to the church, and I don't think, you know, neighbors, you know, right, driving home
Yeah.
would want to look at it. So I'm for it.
Definitely don't want a house across the street from you where vagrants are living.
Yeah.
It could be burned down. It could be a fire hazard.
Mhm.
And
Got the liability as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the screening of the carport, when I drove by, the screening of the carport, I thought that would be in the sight line. That would be helpful. I agree.
Any other questions or comments regarding this application?
Okay, I'm going to make a motion. Please, Phil.
Okay.
I, it's my last motion. I move that we approve the approval for demolition on the condition adding, what is the name of it? That any reuse of the site, including and not limited to parking lights, must be approved by the planning commission or planning department, sorry. The site must be revegetated with sod or a similar material to ensure the site will be used as a green space until another purpose for the lot is approved or determined, and that the applicant shall work with planning staff to mitigate the visual impact of the existing carport.
The only thing I heard was you said was parking light, and so parking lots, and it
Parking
wouldn't
lots.
just be the lights.
Okay, so I'm going to restate that.
And it also for HTC to consider, it wouldn't just be in,
I'm going to withdraw that motion. Does somebody need to second
Yeah.
that?
I don't think so. I think if it's not seconded,
And I'm going to restate my
it
motion.
fails
Okay, motion
or
failed.
dies.
Don't second that.
Yeah.
Okay, new motion. I so move that we approve the permit for demolition with the condition that any reuse of the site, including and not limited to the parking lot, and that must be approved by the planning department. The site must be vegetated with sod or similar material to ensure the site will be used for green space until another purpose for the lot is determined, and that the applicant shall work with the planning staff to mitigate the visual impact of the existing carport with shrubbery and/or fence. Don't second.
Is there,
Planning department to HTC.
I'm thinking if you can second that as amended,
That's what I was
but
thinking. I was like,
yeah.
I was like, can we second that?
Okay.
Then can we motion to
Yeah.
change the
I'm
one
gonna
word
say
to
it
HTC?
all right,
I will-
third time is the
Okay,
charm.
motion failed. and
Appreciate
all-
y'all's patience.
All of this is going to be in the minutes that I made the third time. I move that we approve, that the commission approve the permit for demolition with the condition that any reuse of the site, including and not limited to the parking lot, be approved by the planning department.
Historic District Commission.
Historic District Commission, I had that the second, be approved by the Historic District Commission. The site must be revegetated with sod and/or similar material to ensure the site will be used for green space until another purpose for the lot is determined, and the applicant shall work with the Historic District Commission to mitigate the visual impact of the existing carport with shrubbery and/or fencing.
Second, with one amendment, that the second reference of the Historic District Commission be changed to planning staff. Yes. Yes, correct.
Okay, I had the wrong Park HDC change. I thought that was the second one,
Yeah.
sorry. Second, the amendment to my motion, or has my motion, yeah,
I think we're good.
okay.
Yeah, so I would say discussion on it. I would say first and foremost, we understand the spirit of this, and so I would just say, first and foremost, if we can clean up in the minutes the specific language to ensure that it mirrors the spirit of what the planning staff has provided for us, and that is clearly communicated to the applicant, I think our bases should be covered. Is that a fair assumption from the rest of the commission?
I would say that's fair.
Does that work for you, Tara? Okay. All right, so there's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
No, I
All in
agree.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. That is approved. And then Tara, you want to give your spill?
Yes, so we'll get your certificate of appropriateness out hopefully tomorrow, but the holidays are coming up. Okay. And then, so City Hall will be closed starting tomorrow at noon until through Friday, and then we'll be back open on Monday. So sometime either tomorrow or before the new year, we'll get that out to you. And then you'll be able to pull the demolition permit, and then we'll discuss the mitigation of the carport.
Thank you all so much. Appreciate your patience as we navigated that. We'll now move to our second public hearing item. If you could go to the agenda for me, please, Becca. You're the best. Thank you. We'll now move to 713 First Street. Is the applicant here to speak on behalf of that? They are not. I would entertain a motion to table this 713 First Street application until our next meeting of the Historic District Commission.
I so motion.
Second.
So motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. That is approved. I don't have printouts, so I'm flying without my handy dandy flip through. Sorry, Becca. I think that was it. Any additional business for the good of the commission? Well, hearing none, I will say one thing. What?
I just wanted to, new
You're still in my thunder.
you do
I
it,
want
you
to
do it.
exercise
Please, you
my
do it, you do
power
it.
as chair while I still have it. So first and foremost, I want to thank Jenny Davis and Liz Hamilton, our outgoing commissioners, for completing their terms and time that they are able to serve with us. We appreciate that very much. And then my phone is timed out, so I'm going to get the welcoming of our new commissioners, the first of which is Allie Dyer, and our expert is the one that I'm blanking on.
JT Dixon.
JT Dixon. So we'll have two new commissioners that will replace Liz and Jenny in our January meeting. And then I will be stepping to the chair to my right, and Josh will be stepping to the chair to his left. And we'll retain our secretary, our fill-in secretary that will be replacing Jenny. And I will just warn you, while I still have the mic, when I started this gig, I did have a full head of hair.
Yeah.
It was spotted, but it was still full nonetheless. So I'm just telling you, I don't know, a year can do things to you. Any other things to address for the good of the order?
I just wanted to also point out that in last November, the City Council did vote to approve those changes to the overlay district for the administrative review for accessory buildings and additions.
Thank you very much for that update.
I had a question was there gonna be a special meeting for the new commissioners? Did they set that date yet?
We have not set that date yet. When we come back after the holidays, we'll start really looking at some meeting. It'll probably be, I believe what we did last year, and I think that worked, is that we just met at 5. And then we just went through kind of the duties for half an hour, and then we just did our regular meeting. So that might be something that we'll do in this instance for our training for new commissioners.
And also, did they send out I think I might have missed a few of them, for the set meetings for each month for next year?
Yes. So we have the calendar, and then I did send out the calendar invites. Yeah. So
Did we figure out a solution for our December meeting?
the December meeting was voted to stand as the December 28th.
Okay.
Right. The
Well, when I'm not sitting in this chair, I may figure out how to maybe adjust that. If there's no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you all so much.